flower dusts my knuckles like winter ash when I hear it. Laughter drifting in from the patio, bright and careless. I freeze at the sink, one hand on a cooling rack of shortbread, the other nudging the curtain just enough to catch their shapes in the glass. I'm Charlotte Fitzgerald, 72, widow, the groom's mother who promised to feed 150 mouths because love has always been a verb for me. Outside, Tiffany's voice is sugar over ice. She'll watch the kids all night, 15 of them. She's used to it. Her sister laughs, the kind that clinks like dropped cutlery. The air from the vent hums against my damp wrist. The house smells of butter and lemon zest and something turning. It's like having a free nanny, Tiffany adds, and the word free slides under my ribs and lodges there. My son steps onto the patio, phone tucked away, not hearing the grit beneath her sweetness. Mom's an angel, he says. I press my palm flat to the tile to ground myself. The photographs on the fridge. Marcus's gap-toothed grin. The beach we once loved. Blur as if the glass has fogged. In the oven, a timer peals. I don't move. I picture my coral dress in its garment bag, the buffet lists, the centerpieces drying in the dining room. 15 children. Free. The vent hums. The laughter swells. My heart steadies into something quiet and steel bright. If love is a verb, what do you call this? The Tuesday afternoon sunlight slanted across my kitchen table, scattering itself over stacks of handwritten lists. Pounds of chicken, trays of salads, desserts lined in neat columns. $3,000 shaved from my retirement fund. Gone in exchange for what I thought was a gift of love. For months, I had lived inside this rhythm, shopping at dawn, chopping until midnight, sewing ribbons onto mason jar centerpieces. Every call from Marcus lit me up inside. Mom, you're amazing, he'd say. I held on to those words like proof that my life still had purpose. But there had been signs. Little dismissals brushed off as stress. Tiffany patting my shoulder when I offered to help. Relax, Miss Charlotte, you don't need to worry. Yet the next day she'd text a new request. Extra flowers, special hors d'oeuvres, each framed as if I had already agreed. I told myself it was kindness. I wanted to believe her soft smile. The truth was lodged in those tiny pauses when she thought I wasn't looking. The quick flick of her eyes toward Marcus, as if checking whether I was useful enough. One night at dinner, Marcus joked in front of his co-workers. If you ever need an event planner, just call my mom. She practically runs a catering business for free. Everyone laughed. I laughed too, though it stung like vinegar on a cut. He didn't notice the way my hands tightened around the stem of my glass. The week of the wedding, Tiffany came by with Audrey. She set a bundle of roses on the counter. Just a little something for the best mother-in-law in the world, she said brightly. I smiled, inhaled the perfume, but caught Audrey's smirk behind her. Their sweetness was a glaze, hiding something tougher underneath. The backstory of 2 years unraveled in my head as I folded napkins in perfect triangles. I had opened my home, my recipes, my stories. Tiffany had sat at my table with her notebook, copying measurements of spice blends, nodding as if they mattered to her. I believed it meant connection. Now I saw it differently. It was acquisition. The first public crack came at a rehearsal dinner. A cousin asked Tiffany if she was nervous about the children running around during the ceremony. Not at all, she said smoothly. Charlotte is wonderful with kids. She offered to keep an eye on them so we can all enjoy ourselves. The table chuckled as if it were a charming anecdote. My fork paused mid-air. Offered. I had not. But no one noticed the silence around me, or how I set my fork down carefully to keep my hand from trembling. By then, the motif had returned, the coral dress, hanging in my closet like a question. Would I wear it as decoration in the background of their joy, or as armor in my own battle for respect? My chest tightened with the weight of the answer forming. Every small trespass, the assumption, the chuckle, the smirk, piled into something heavier than flour sacks on my kitchen counter. When Tiffany's laughter on the patio sliced through the air that Tuesday, it wasn't the first betrayal. It was the last straw. By Wednesday evening, the dining room looked less like a home and more like a war room. Lists sprawled across the table. Pens with fading ink abandoned mid-calculation, receipts curling at the edges like dried leaves. I sat with a calculator in my lap, punching the same numbers again and again. 3,000 for the buffet, another 100 here for ribbon, another 50 for candles. All of it from my savings. And still, the echo of Tiffany's laughter clung to me. She won't even realize we're using her. Those words had nested in my skull, louder than the hum of the refrigerator. The coral dress dangled from the wardrobe door in my bedroom, the color fierce against the pale wood. I had once imagined wearing it proudly as Marcus's mother, accepting hugs from relatives, smiling in photographs. Now it seemed to pulse like a warning. Armor, not decoration. My reflection in the mirror beside it was harder than I remembered. Wrinkles etched deep, yes, but the eyes, steady, unblinking. The phone rang, cutting through the room. Marcus. His tone was cheerful at first, the way sons talk when they assume their mothers will smooth every wrinkle. Mom, Tiffany says everything is running smoothly. Don't worry about the buffet. You always know what to do. And with the kids around, I'm glad you'll be there to help. It means the world to us. For a heartbeat, I considered saying nothing, swallowing my protest like I had 1,000 times before. But something rose in me, a steel I hadn't felt in years. Marcus, I said evenly, I'm not going to spend your wedding chasing children. I'm a guest, not hired help. The line went silent long enough for me to hear the tick of the kitchen clock. Then his voice sharpened. Mom, don't make this complicated. Tiffany's stressed enough. We counted on you. Counted. A word that stung like vinegar on a cut. I gripped the receiver tighter, veins pressing against my skin. You counted wrong, I answered, steady as stone. He exhaled in frustration. If you won't, then what are we supposed to do? Hire someone last minute? That'll cost a fortune. You know how tight things are. And there it was, the first punishment. My refusal painted as selfish, my years of giving erased in a breath. I pressed my lips together, refusing to defend myself with another offer. The silence that followed was heavier than his anger. For the first time in decades, I wasn't scrambling to fix his panic. After the call, I sat down at the dining table again, receipts spread like evidence. Cold, hard proof of the money I had already given. The edges of the paper cut faintly against my fingertips. $3,000, gone without thanks, and now they wanted my dignity too. My heart thudded, but it no longer raced in confusion. It beat in clarity. I pulled open the drawer where I kept old files, taxes, warranties, handwritten recipes from my mother. Between them, I slid the receipts into a neat stack. They weren't just paper anymore. They were witness. That night, I dialed Loretta. My voice came out low but certain. Lo, I've decided. I'm pulling the plug on all of it. Her gasp crackled through the receiver. Then a slow whistle. Charlotte, are you ready for the storm that's going to cause? I'm ready, I whispered. My hand brushed the fabric of the coral dress hanging nearby. If not now, when? The next morning, the plan took shape. My first call was to the caterer. This is Charlotte Fitzgerald, I said, my voice firmer than I felt. I need to cancel Saturday's order. The keyboard clicks, the sigh of the receptionist, the mention of fees. They were background noise to my relief. Each cancellation, each confirmation number, was another link snapping loose from the chain that bound me. By noon, the florist. Then the bakery. Then the rental company. Some voices on the other end sounded sympathetic, others cold. I absorbed it all without flinching. When the last call ended, my hands trembled. But beneath the tremor lay calm. A strange clarity, like a muscle rediscovered after years of disuse. I hung up the phone, crossed to the wardrobe, and laid a hand on the coral dress. Its fabric was cool and firm, alive with promise. It was no longer a costume for the background. It was becoming my declaration. Friday night came heavy and airless. I had packed a small suitcase, 2 dresses, my medications, the novel I had meant to finish for months. The coral dress hung outside the bag. I would wear it, not tuck it away. Yet as I zipped the suitcase, a pang spread through me sharp as pins under the skin. Weddings were supposed to be joy, a mother's chance to beam in the photographs. Instead, I was plotting my absence like a fugitive. At the kitchen table, I set down a single sheet of paper. The pen felt awkward in my hand, heavier than when I wrote recipes. Dear Marcus. The words bled out slowly. I told him why I had canceled everything, how dignity had become my only gift left to give. When I signed it, Mom, the ink blurred for a second as tears welled. My hand trembled. Was I truly about to walk away from my only son's wedding? The doubt stabbed deeper than Tiffany's mockery ever had. I carried the letter to the spot where Marcus always sat when he visited. The chair creaked under the weight of memory. Birthday dinners, late-night coffees, his elbows on the table while I corrected his college essays. I laid the envelope down and pressed my palm against it, as if the gesture could transmit love through paper. Then I turned away, my chest hollow. Upstairs, I sat on the edge of the bed I had once shared with my husband. 30 years of partnership, ended by cancer, stared back at me from the framed photos on the nightstand. His smile seemed to ask if I was strong enough to go through with this. I don't know, I whispered. The house answered with silence. Sleep came in fragments. I woke at 2 a.m., heart racing, convinced I should unpack and put everything back in order. My fingers hovered over the suitcase zipper. But then Tiffany's voice returned. She won't even realize we're using her. The words solidified my resolve like cement setting. I left the suitcase shut and lay back down, though tears slid into my hair. By dawn, Loretta's headlights swept across my driveway. I carried the bag outside, but my legs dragged. Loretta hugged me hard. You're doing what's right, she said. I nodded, though my throat ached with grief. In the car mirror, the reflection of my house shrank until it was gone, and with it, the life I had spent decades constructing around service. At the spa's reception, the staff greeted us with mimosas. Their smiles were polite, professional, strangers treating me with more respect than my own family had. Yet instead of joy, I felt the ache of something broken. While Loretta chatted brightly about massages, my chest tightened. I should have been arranging centerpieces, greeting guests, taking my place as mother of the groom. Instead, I was hiding among strangers. Lying on the massage table, soft stones pressed against my back, I let my phone buzz against my purse. Marcus's name flashed again and again. My eyes filled. I had chosen silence, but the cost pressed heavy. Was I abandoning him? The guilt gnawed until I nearly reached for the phone. Only Loretta's squeeze of my hand afterward kept me grounded. That evening, as the sun set over the lake, I stood on the terrace with a glass of wine. The water glowed with gold. The air smelled of pine. But all I saw in my mind was Marcus in his suit, scanning the reception hall for me, realizing the buffet was gone, the children running loose. My knees weakened. I gripped the railing, whispering, Lord, please let him understand someday. The spa's beauty wrapped around me, but the ache inside made it hollow. For a moment, I wondered if I had made the gravest mistake of my life. The phone would not stop buzzing. By 3 o'clock, as I sipped chilled white wine on the spa terrace, the screen showed 17 missed calls. I finally turned the device over, face down, but its vibration kept bleeding through the wood table like a trapped insect. Loretta arched a brow. "They're learning," she said. Her tone was light, but my chest twisted. At 4, the wedding hour, I imagined the hall filling with guests. The smell of perfume and cologne, chatter bouncing off walls, camera flashes igniting, and no buffet, no grandmother in the corner corralling children. My stomach knotted. Still, I held my silence until nearly 5, when guilt and anger met in a sharp edge. I switched the phone back on. The messages cascaded. "Mom, where are you? The guests are arriving. We need the food. Please answer." Tiffany is crying, each one more frantic than the last. I dialed back. Marcus answered on the first ring, his voice a raw slash. "Mom, where are you? The caterers never came. The kids are screaming. People are asking." I let him spill. Then, steady as stone, I said, "I'm at a spa, Marcus. Enjoying a chocolate massage? How's your wedding going?" Silence. Then his voice cracked. "Mom, this isn't funny. There's no food. Tiffany's makeup is ruined. Kids are running wild. One knocked over the cake." Behind him, I heard chaos. Plates clattering, a child wailing, voices rising in confusion. I leaned back in my chair, lake breeze brushing my cheek. "Did you read my letter?" "Yes, but, Mom, please, we can talk later. Right now, I need you here. Please, just come." I canceled everything when I learned my role was babysitter, not mother of the groom, I said. "If you needed staff, you should have hired them." A sob cracked through the line. Tiffany's. Then her voice, stripped of sweetness. "Charlotte, you can't do this. You promised the buffet. There are 150 people here." I sipped my wine. I promised when I thought I was a guest, not when I learned I was the unpaid nanny. Her desperation sharpened. "At least help with the children. 15 of them running everywhere. Please, their parents expect you." "Oh?" I said softly. "Doesn't Audrey think I'm perfect for that? Let her step in." The silence that followed was jagged, pierced only by the faint shrieks of children in the background. Tiffany's voice wavered. How do you know about Audrey?" I smiled at Loretta, who was giving me a thumbs up from across the table. "Walls have ears, dear, especially when you gossip on my patio." The mask cracked. Tiffany hissed, "You're a selfish old woman. You ruined my wedding." "No, Tiffany," I said, voice calm as still water. "You ruined your wedding when you chose convenience over respect. I simply refuse to be your accomplice." Marcus returned to the line, his voice breaking like a chastised boy. "Mom, we'll pay you. 500. Just, please." I laughed so loud a couple on the terrace turned to look. $500? For chasing children in my coral dress? Try harder." His voice rose in panic. 2,000! Mom, please! I can't fix this without you." "Exactly," I said, lowering my tone. "And maybe that's the lesson. I am not your employee. I am your mother. Respect is not optional." Another crash echoed, glass shattering, a child shrieking. Then the line went quiet except for Marcus's ragged breathing. "Mom," he whispered. "Please, they all think I'm a fool. My wedding is falling apart." I closed my eyes, let the lake wind wash over me. "Sometimes, son, fools need to feel the fall to learn how to stand. Goodbye." I ended the call. The phone vibrated again and again, but I set it face down. Across from me, Loretta lifted her glass. "To freedom," she said. I raised mine, to dignity, and as the sun sank into the water, the sound of children screaming far away became the sweetest music I had ever heard. By Sunday evening, The spa's silence felt like balm. My phone, once a weapon of guilt, now lay quiet in my bag. The storm had passed. At least for me. Marcus's last message still glowed on the screen. "Mom, we need to talk. I'm sorry." I hadn't answered. Some lessons take time to settle, and this one had cost too much to rush. Back home, the coral dress hung where I left it, untouched by spilled juice or cake. I touched its fabric and smiled. It wasn't just a dress. It had become a banner. Proof that at 72, I could still draw a line and hold it. Proof that dignity has no expiration date. Marcus will come around. Tiffany may or may not. But I know this. Love without respect is only servitude dressed up as duty. I gave 3 decades to family, and I'll keep giving, but on my terms now. No more silent yeses. No more free labor masked as love. Sometimes saying no is the only way to remind others and yourself that your life still belongs to you. If you've ever been taken for granted, if you've ever felt your kindness mistaken for weakness, hear me now. It's never too late to stand tall. Protect your dignity. Protect your heart. And if my story struck a chord, share it. Leave a comment, tell me how you found your own voice, and don't forget to subscribe to Roots and Secrets, because our stories matter, and the lessons we pass on can change more than weddings. They can change lives.